Early last year, a house in this estate in Bray, County Wicklow cost £11,500. Today it costs £18,500. These cost £15,000 a year ago. Today's cost £27,000. And in the same year, the price of these houses in South Dublin has jumped £4,500. Today's mortgage rates at over 14% are the highest we've ever had. A year ago, this Galway couple were hoping to buy their own home. Today, with rising prices and mortgage difficulties, they've given up hope. There's now a general feeling that something has gone wrong in the housing market. Thousands of people can no longer afford to buy. It's ironic and somewhat embarrassing that the present government, which promised so much to house purchasers 18 months ago, should be presiding over today's difficulties. And the problems are, to some extent, of the Fianna Fáil government's own making. A mounting frustration is evident around the country as houses slip further and further from the grasp of young couples. Tonight we look at the facts on rising house prices, what has pushed them up, and whether there's any way of finding more money for the thousands being disappointed by the building societies. At times over the past year or so, it's almost seemed as if a madness had overtaken house price rises, hiking them up week after week without apparent control. There are in fact good reasons for what's happened. Some of the factors are still at work, pushing prices up. Others were temporary, have passed, and the market is already steadying, somewhat. One cause has been the after effect of recession. During those years, housing demand was pent up. Builders' costs fell behind. It fell to the new government in mid-77 to release the pent-up forces in the house market. But in revitalising the building industry, Fianna Fáil also fuelled an explosion in house prices and generated a demand for which the money simply doesn't seem any longer to be there.
The government introduced the measures such as the abolition of rates, the £1,000 grant in particular for house buyers last year. The effect, as we've seen now, is that house prices have shot up. There's been approximately 33% rise in house prices in the 12 months to September. This has been the net effect. Mortgages have not been available to the same extent. The increase in the amount of funds available for mortgages has not kept up with that.
But the price of land is the continuing bogey factor in house prices. It's the main ingredient in the price you pay, and there is no control. 4 years ago, the Kenny report proposed such controls, but no government has been able to grasp the nettle and to resolve this key argument.
I think the government will probably intervene someday. I think they'll be under pressure to intervene.
In regard to the price of land?
In regard to the price of land, they'll try to control the price in some way. I think it'll be a terrible mistake. I think if they try to control the price of land, the availability of land will lessen. Land has to be attractive to a landowner to release his land for development.
But as long as the Kenny report gathers dust and the cost of building land remains outside public control, a powerful engine of inflation is pumping away beneath the house market. Developers, meanwhile, are conscious that building land is not controlled by the government's Certificate of Reasonable Value. There are signs in the business that some operators have changed their practice to exploit this lack of control.
These faceless developers we have now, presently, they're the ones who are really creaming off the top, in my opinion.
Who are these people?
Well, there's some of them who were known to us in the past as builders who, on occasions during the early 70s, built up to 20 houses a week. That's just one company alone. They're still on the market. They're building only a fraction of those houses now. And at the same time, they're in development in a big way.
So how are they creaming, as you say? How are they making so much money?
They buy land, they develop it, and then they sell that developed site to a small builder. That small builder is the man who's now building for the public. But he, in his costs, his main costs, is the developed site cost. And that's the figure he pays to the main developer, who is not controlled at all. None
He
whatsoever.
can sell those sites for whatever he can get.
Anything he likes.